Good evening, I'm Angelika, and you're watching World Talks live from Warsaw. This Sunday, the Lukashenko regime in Belarus will hold presidential election with one clear winner ahead of vote. The sham election is taking place amongst the ongoing crackdown opposition, which forced around 500,000 Belarusians to flee the country. And to talk about the latest from Belarus, we're joined by Angelika Melnikova, Speaker of the Coordination Council of Belarus. So the first question would be, what does Lukashenko need election for? Because he could basically just extend his term for the next 30 years, maybe, who knows?
Yeah, I hope that not.
What is this whole spectacle for?
I hope that not for 30 years. So, yeah, this is a spectacle. This is just a political theater. And we don't call it elections at all. We call it sham elections. This is a reappointment of Lukashenko. And he's just, why is he doing that? He's just trying to legitimate himself in front of Western world to show that he's got opposition, that he's got some other candidates, but we know that they're just closest ones to Lukashenko, and this is just a game.
So can you tell us a little more about the other candidates? There are overall 5 people taking
yes, I guess
part in the election. So what role do they play apart from being losers to Lukashenko?
Well, first of all, they are like, they're not competing. If you see those people talking publicly, they all support Lukashenko. Well, some of them, like Ms. Knapatska, they're trying to tell such narratives as democratic forces do, with some liberalism or something. But this is just, this is just theater. This is something like we are watching a scenario orchestrated by Lukashenko and his closest ones.
Right. So we have sham elections, and what would be your advice to the people of Belarus not to go to the polling stations, or maybe go but I don't know, draw a silly picture on the card? What's the general idea from the opposition?
The general idea is politicization of this society. You know that in these circumstances of such repressions, we can't ask people to go out, to protest, to do something actively. But anyway, people, they live in fear, but they want to show their protest somehow. That's why we use this informational wave for politicization to tell people that, yeah, this is sham election, but you should go and put a sign against everyone, against all the candidates that have stolen your voices. We are not even asking them to vote, but to come to the voting places, polls, and to just put this sign in front of, against all the candidates. Why is it important? We just want to have this connection with people in Belarus. We want to expand our audience because we can't, just communicate to those who are already with us. But we have to show people that who is Lukashenko. We have to show them that he is a criminal. That's why a couple of days ago we held parliamentary hearings in Coordination Council on the crimes of Lukashenko. It's a mistake that we think that everyone knows that Lukashenko is a criminal. Well, no, they spend such huge resources, financial, human resources for propaganda, and this is all supported by millions of euro by Kremlin.
Mm-hmm. But are there any consequences if you do not go to vote at all, if you just stay home?
Just today we got a couple of messages from people from inside of Belarus, like, my wife was made to go to vote in advance, because if you don't do that, well, you'll have problems, you'll be fired, or you'll have other, threats from your boss. So this is what happens like for decades. That's the same that we saw during the last elections campaign.
Right, and we know Lukashenko to be sort of a person that likes to rule his country in a very Asian despotic way, right? And he has already tapped his youngest son, if I'm not mistaken, to be his successor. Why not now? Why does he want, to undergo the next election, sham election process and so on, if he already has a successor?
Well, I don't think that he's thinking about his youngest son to be a successor. Why? Because Lukashenko himself changed the constitution, and previously, even I could, run for this elections campaign if I was in Belarus, because earlier it was like you have to be 35 years old. Now you have to be 40 years old. But as far as I know, his youngest son is a little bit young. He's over 20, something like that. Well, I don't know what can happen in the head of the dictator. It's very hard to make any predictions. But I think that he already has a plan for himself to stay safe and to bring someone to power from his closest ones. Well, this is what all the dictators, I think about before leaving the post. But everyone in democratic forces is sure that he would stay and seize this power till the last day of his life.
Right. Having said that, what do you think are Kremlin's plans in case of Lukashenko leaving the office?
Well, we all have to be prepared to different scenarios. The main thing for us is to defend our sovereignty. If we don't have a normal democratic, let's say not opposition, because we are majority, we know that majority of people are for us. If we don't have structures, connections, contacts in the civilized world, then of course Kremlin will bring someone to Belarus and just put this puppet to the government. But we don't want such a situation. We all are striving and struggling, and we are now building structures like proto-parliament, proto-government. We have the office of president, we have all these structures, and we have to empower them. That Coordination Council a couple of days ago was recognized as a parliament in exile by the Polish Senate. And it is declared in the resolution of the Senate about the sham elections. So, and this is not only this is first national parliament that recognizes Coordination Council as a parliament in exile, but also on Monday, our delegation, for the first time in history, starts its work in the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe. Lukashenko was trying for decades to get to this international platform. And what he is saying all the time, he's like, everyone is going to talk to me, and this is the real power. So no, this time the civilized world is talking to us, to Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, to the United Transitional Cabinet, and to the Coordination Council of Belarus.
Well, one of Lukashenko's promises during the, well, you can call it presidential campaign, if anything, was to renew the dialogue with the West, which you already mentioned several times. Should we take it seriously? Is he really looking for a sort of, rapprochement with the West?
He's always looking for this approachment. He's been doing that for decades, and this would be sixth, I guess, time when he's trying to bargain with the West. And you see that every day we see the news that there are dozens of people that are thrown behind the bars. And here we see news about that, like he's releasing 15 people, and the West is thinking, wow, this is a humanitarian case. He's a good guy. Maybe some of the democratic countries, sometimes we can hear also such narratives. But we urge every country of the civilized world, please do not listen to this. It has been happening for 5 times in history. And the repression hasn't stopped. We are striving for stopping the repressions and for releasing of all the political prisoners. Otherwise, well, this is going to be just trade for another time. Mm-hmm. And this time, it will be the same turning the page. We don't want to turn the page. We are losing our sovereignty every day. You see that Kremlin is just eating Belarus. They have common military doctrine. They have common economics, let's say. They are allies in war against Ukraine. Like, if the world thought that Lukashenko is a threat and a problem of Belarusians, well, he's not. He's the threat for the whole region. We have immigration crisis on the borders of Belarus. We have now, hijacking of the plane, that this had a couple of years ago, this situation. Now we have nuclear weapons. So this is...
In your opinion, is there a threat that Donald Trump may exchange peace in Ukraine for the Russification of Belarus?
Well, everyone says that we can't predict what Trump is going to do. Well, of course, no one dares to say, like, yeah, I know what is going to be the politics of Donald Trump. But anyway, he's an American businessman, not only a president, but also an American businessman. And what do they want from their partners, from partnering states, is a win-win solutions. This is classics. And if we sit down and have this dialogue and understand what are our win-win plans, goals, situations, what resources we need, then I think it will be even easier to make a dialogue with him. You know that democratic forces of Belarus do have a strategic dialogue with the United States of America. It was like in December when we had it. So, you see that for the 30 years of Lukashenko seizing the power in Belarus, so many presidents of the United States of America have changed, but the support of Belarus and Belarusian democratic forces is still ongoing.
Mm-hmm. The last question would be about the very near future. The election, sham election, takes place tomorrow. Let's say on Monday or Tuesday we'll learn the results of the election. Alexander Lukashenko will be declared the absolute winner. What happens next? Will there be mass protests? Will there be people chanting against his rule and mobilizing more people to do the same? Or will people just stay at home because they are too afraid?
I don't think that there is going to be any protest in the streets. People are just too afraid. They're scared for their lives, And what we can do is to support the underground movement out from here. First, we have to support the independent media. We have to find other new innovative instruments to reach the minds of people inside of Belarus, of young people. And this is a strategic idea, that this is an informational war. And we are now having one enemy, it's Kremlin, who is just spending lots of resources for this informational war. And we here, as diaspora, as politicians, as parliament in exile, as democratic structures and civil society, we have to support it. We have to build these bridges and maintain this communication with people, with still active people in Belarus. The main thing is that we shouldn't close Europe for Belarusians. We have to harmonize sanctions, we have to close Lukashenko and his regime, but not people.
Angelika Melnikova, Speaker of the Coordination Council of Belarus, the Belarusian government in exile.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being with us tonight. Thank you for watching and stay with us for much more here on TVP World.